Good evening. Good evening, beautiful spirits. Pure pugilists, boxing fans worldwide. Listen to Myron Magnus. And pre-fight breakdown or pre-fight prediction. Lara Jr., my apologies, for the junior middleweight championship bout between Lara and Brian Ray Sugar Castano. You know, this is an interesting matchup. The timing of it, also the matchup itself. And let me talk about the timing of it first. Many people are happy Lara gets an immediate title shot after losing one title. But at the same time, it's hard to fight your best after suffering a loss. Because after a loss, something is taken out of you a little bit. Or should I say something is reduced. And that is your confidence level. All around. And even though Lara fought a very, very good fight against Jarrett Hurd, he was still stopped, well not stopped, but dropped in the last round and suffered a loss. And that was a very, very, very tough fight he had with Jarrett Swift Hurd. You heard? That was a very, very, very tough fight for someone around his age to go through. Especially against a much, much bigger, stronger fighter. So I always believe after a loss, a fighter may need 2-3 fights to get his confidence level back to the peak where it needs to be to perform his best against another top fighter, A tier, a champion, which Brian Castano is for the WBC. So that is a little shaky to me, but since he did fare well, it was probably leading on the scorecards in many people's opinion against Hurd, and just lost that at the very end. It might not be as psychologically impairing to Lara as it will be to some other fighters or some other situations where that had happened. Another thing I noticed in that fight against Jarrett Hurd, and I'm leading up to where I'm going now, is that Lara, for the most part, for the fight that he usually don't fight, Lara is a boxer. He's very much a boxer. Jarrett Hurd is a puncher. Okay? That's, I believe, in learning how to box a little bit. But his personality dominant is a puncher. He's gonna go toe-to-toe with you. He's gonna stalk you, as we all have seen Jarrett Hurd do. In that fight, Lara did more toe-to-toe, willing to exchange, than he usually does in many, many previous fights that he has. For instance, the fight against Canelo Alvarez, Lara was stick and moving, which is probably Lara at his best, which in my opinion is. If you watched him fight quite often, he's at his best as a boxer, sticking and moving. But I think the pressure's been put on him, and like many other fighters who don't have a huge enough profile to sway the public and sway the politics of boxing okay, into convincing people, or should I say casuals, that this is an awesome fighter. He just have a different style. It's not the rock'em sock'em robot punch you up slugfest style. It's a style that's showing you the sweet science. And unfortunately, we like to see blood and guts. So I think Laney Lara's been put in a tight situation where he has to change his style late in his career in order to get the fights that he wants, or the recognition that he wants and deserves. And what he does deserve it. Brian Castano is one of those fighters. He wants to go toe-to-toe and match blow for blow with you. And he has the speed to do that. Laney Lara one time had the speed to do that, even though that wasn't his style of fighting. And I believe they want to get Laney Lara out the picture. You know, American boxing, the American boxing industry has not been very, very favorable for a lot of Cuban fighters. And it's unfair, because Cuban fighters bring a wonderful dynamic, a wonderful skill level, and superb ability. They bring a wonderful tradition, but they're not given the great rap or a fair rap with American boxing, partially due to the history, of course, between America and Cuba, and them guys not having a shelter or many people that will stand in their corner or have their back and protect them and support them in the sport of boxing in America. You've seen what happened with Rigondeaux. We've seen what happened with Castano. We've seen what happened with many, many Cuban fighters here in America. Okay? And that's unfortunate. But in my back of my mind, I think they do want to get Laney Lara out of there, because Laney Lara is a shadow, a dark shadow on boxing. He was robbed against Canelo Alvarez. Okay? He had a few draws, one against Molina, and a couple of one or two other questionable decisions. In my estimation, Lara should only have maybe one loss, one draw at the most for his career. Brian Castano, a wonderful fighter in his own right, that beat Earl Spence Jr. in the amateurs in the Pan Am Games. Which is, when doing my study on him, was ironic. I don't know much about this guy. It seemed like he came out of nowhere. 15-0, 11 knockouts. They say his punching power is average. Speed, though, what I see, is very, very, very good. Those combinations, wonderfully fast combinations, fast hands, younger than Laney Lara, and probably most likely have less wear and tear, less punishment on his body, and can go the distance stronger, can go longer, should I say, longer and stronger into the later rounds than Laney Lara probably can. So if this fight goes the distance, Laney Lara needs to win these first 8 rounds. He needs to win 8 out of the 12 rounds in this fight. to win this fight and get the decision in his favor. Okay? If he does not win 8 rounds decisively, I believe Brian Castano is going to get this win. If Erislandy Lara stick and moves, picks his spots, uses wonderful ring IQ, ring generalship, I think he wins this fight. If he feels the pressure of pleasing the fans and the BS critics of boxing that were quick to throw shade on this brother's overall ability and get into a slugfest with this young kid, he will lose his fight. I hope we see the sharpshooter stick and move Erislandy Lara in this fight, because if he fights that fight, he'll win. I think against the younger guy. He doesn't need to go in there and prove it's macho, do this and do that. I hope he is not pressured to do that. If he is, it may not go in his favor. So, unfortunately, I think that will, well, let's say this. This fight might end up as a draw. And this kid's going to keep his belt. And if Erislandy Lara stays in the sport much longer, and I do not want to see this happen, they will use Erislandy Lara, his name, his reputation, for fighters coming in to build up off of, because he's at that crest of his career. Okay? So I give this fight, unfortunately, my heart says Lara, but the politics in my mind says Brian Castano is going to get perhaps a majority decision. And I'm going to leave it at that, unfortunately. You listen to Myron Magnus, and this is another segment of Pure Pugilism, Boxing Logic. One love.